alcohol, absurdities, hookup culture, mindless vices. This is stuff that boomers say about our generation. And, some of that, there may be some truth in that. There, I don't know what's going on, actually. My bad. How about let's go to a different room so we could discuss this stuff further? Because I bet I've piqued your interest somehow, some way, right? Come on, let's move on. Let's go into the next room. That was smooth. But it's not smooth. This attire right here, it's not going to be holding up much longer. So let's get through this rather quickly, shall we? Teenage lifestyle choices, the rationale behind it all, honing in on Gen Z specifically, analyzing the rifts between generations as a result of technology and globalization, all that cool stuff, right? Just the amount of information available to us at our fingertips, looking at data and all that fun stuff, analyzing statistics, all very cool on its own, right? Now imagine if we were able to combine those things by taking an individual, right, a subject, if you will, not one that's necessarily stereotypical in nature and fits all the little boxes when it comes to the stereotype, but one who is just, he just happens to be part of the general Gen Z demographic. Imagine if we took someone like that, we delved deep into their character, deep into their psyche, into their personal philosophy, their personal ideals, and we sort of compared and contrast. Wouldn't that be fun? I think that's what we're going to do today. Let's go into the next room and sort of get a little bit more formal, because I bet this is a bit distracting. Come on, let's go. Let's move it. Let's move it. Yeah. So, generational disparities, all that stuff is, pretty cool, but we're going to specifically delve into escapism and addiction when it comes to Generation Z. And we're going to approach the topic with a bit of brevity just so we could kind of get through everything. Let's get on to it. I selected 4 articles. 3 of them are actually research papers. So let's kind of just get into the short, academic sort of interpretation of Generation Z and consumerism. So put that John up in the background. So, Gen Z. It's pretty interesting because when you scroll down to the escapism section, the author sort of just acknowledges that escapism is a very natural thing in general, but what makes it so unique when it comes to different generations is the options we have and how frequently the general population delves into escapism, and how many people within the general population do it, percentage-wise. The thing about our generation is that it's very unique as a result of the technological advancements, because we have just so many options and many of them are digital, and so it's no longer just simple alcoholism and maybe some LSD or something, right? It's you could be playing a game for hours and be immersed in the story. And the thing is, some people may see that as not so damaging, but in reality it could damage your mental health and even your cognition. But again, brevity, let's move on. So now for alcoholism, specifically binge drinking and whether or not it's a new phenomenon, that's what this thing is about. If you scroll down to the interesting stuff, the sort of meaning of binge drinking has kind of mutated, and that's what kind of makes people in general think that binge drinking is like a new sort of thing, when in reality, it most likely is not, as a result of people throughout history always sort of frequently consuming alcohol and stuff. The context is what makes it so unique, though. All right, hold on. Wait a minute, moron. Before this buffoon fails to connect this study to our topic and subject, let me explain why it's so interesting. Pretty much, it's interesting and it relates to our topic and subject because it pulls people from different generations and socioeconomic backgrounds and tries to find any sort of changing habits between the generations and any sort of differences amongst people from different socioeconomic backgrounds and attachment styles. Whew, I just saved this guy's grade. Hopefully. Anyway, if we move on to this really cool Hungarian study about technology in general and how Generation Z interacts with the world as a result of it, it's very interesting when you scroll down because the author says that we are the first truly global generation as a result of how quickly we could connect with someone across the world. And another thing is that when it comes to the results, there's kind of a rift between people that are interested in new technology and people who just do not care. It's not like there's some insane discrepancy. It's literally like there's It's almost like a half and half split with like a third group that's just kind of like iffy about it, which is kind of crazy because most of these people have the same, degree of like access when it comes to accessing all this new news and information about the past, present, and predictions for the future. And so that's why this is very cool. Now let's move on to the final thing. This study is very cool to me just because it's direct input from Generation Z, but more obviously like not all of Generation Z, but just like a somewhat population representative sample. And surprisingly, the people within the study, a lot of them are, religious, were raised religiously, but they also have low self-esteem. And we'll get into that in a bit, but that definitely relates to our subject. So yeah, sorry we had to keep it brief. Let's move on to the subject and, maybe we could expound upon some of this later. Oh, this chair is moving around today, huh? Tyler T, a very interesting individual. Demographically, he fits within Generation Z, and he even has some of the hallmarks of Generation Z behavior. But what's interesting is that even though some of his behavior just borders on addiction, the escapism is kind of lacking. Specifically when you talk to him and how he feels about life and stuff, and some of his like ideals and ideas reflect that. So I'll let him take it away with this one.
Oh yeah, I feel like I know the answer to this one, but I feel like we gotta ask it just because. Are you currently content with life? Like, do you feel happy with where you are? Okay.
Yeah, I'm 19, making more than most parents are making right now.
Mm-hmm.
So as you can see, he is, content with life. He does like it. I'll play another clip about the alcoholism.
You drink a lot when there's like a just high number of hours you're working during that week. So is that just a stress thing? It sounds like that's like a way to sort of deal with stress or something. Is that what it is? Is that what
I guess it's like a way to kind of kick back and relax for me.
Oh, okay. So it's more of just a de-stressor, not necessarily like an, oh man, life is kind of, it's horrible.
Yeah.
I gotta cope with this. It's just more of a, this is my way to, as you said, kick back and relax.
Yes, I'm not going through, I can not drink if I want to not drink. I'm not going to drink to consume, to hurt, or to heal myself. I just drink to drink.
Later in the interview, he said he was more of a social drinker. He does not really drink by himself. And he does participate in hookup culture, but he didn't really want to delve into that too much. But what was interesting to me, and I'll try not to play too many clips, but he states he's a Christian and he regrets kind of not being super involved with prayer and everything anymore. But, not too long after that, I asked him about the hookup culture thing, and this is what he had to say.
Hold on. Well, since you are religious and you want to get back into religion and stuff, how do you feel about your behavior when it comes to I don't mean to put you on the spot or anything. This is just a question. How do you feel about your behavior with not necessarily the alcohol, but just the hookup kind of stuff? How do you feel about that?
I mean, it's what happens. It's
just human nature.
I don't know. I guess so for me.
Okay, so you don't ever feel any sort of heavy weight or anything like God wouldn't approve or something of that nature. You're just well, it's everyone's a sinner or something. Is that kind of the rationale there?
I guess so.
Okay.
So yeah, as you can see, I just kind of asked him about how does he feel about his behavior, given that he is Christian, subscribes to Christian ideals and stuff. And, he gave a very interesting response. And to me, this makes sense that there are these sort of contradictions and stuff, because he just doesn't seem like someone who would really hold on to things that are negative, at least. Because he did claim, he does have very fond memories of high school and things like that. He played football and all that. He's a very interesting character. He gives us some pretty cool insight as an individual into the whole, Generation Z, escapism and addiction sort of thing, and the stereotypes of Generation Z. And it's very interesting because he's also a diesel mechanic. He's 19, lives in northern Georgia. Unlike a lot of people nowadays, he was like, screw it, I'm not going into college. I do have this one thing I'm good at, I'm just gonna kind of do this. And he's making good money, and I feel like that explains why he's very content in life. He doesn't have many restrictions and restraints and just regrets, but he does still participate in behavior that is literally addictive. And some of this is shown post-interview. He was talking to me and he was talking about this this drunk driving story that happened recently, and you know, again, he drinks on the weekends, but he also does drink on weekdays, and in fact, seems like he was leaving out some stuff when it comes to the weekday drinking. And in fact, he said I could do another interview with him if we wanted to extract more information when it comes to the alcoholism and hookup stuff, even though beforehand he was more like, let's keep the hookup stuff like more on a surface level thing, which was fine because, again, you know, we still got some pretty juicy stuff out of it. But yeah, no, very interesting character for sure. And it definitely gives us some good insight when it comes to Generation Z stereotypes and, you know, escapism, addiction, all that general stuff. Very cool, very cool. Thank you, Tyler T. To conclude, Tyler T, he's a very interesting individual due to the insight he can kind of give us when it comes to generational stereotypes, specifically relating to escapism and addiction. And he kind of helps put things into perspective due to his contradictory sort of like ideals, behavior, and the fact that even though he kind of is bordering on addiction with the hookup culture stuff and the alcoholism, he doesn't really exhibit any traits or like mindset scarrings of someone who overly indulges in like escapist behavior, you know. So that's why he's such an interesting character. And if we were to sort of expound upon certain ideas mentioned in like the research segment, we definitely would be using this subject to kind of help put things into perspective and really sort of further analyze things, you know? So yeah, very cool guy. Happy I got to interview him. I hope this video was good, entertainment wise, and also like when it comes to satisfying project requirements. So yeah, see you guys later, I guess, you know? Look at me in class and give the thumbs down if you can, you know, if you're in class. Yeah.